REDMAGIC absolutely nailed it with the 11 Pro. So what does the newly refreshed REDMAGIC 11S Pro bring to the table? And is it worth the upgrade? Well, it better be, since pricing is increased by $100, bringing its starting price up to $799 US. Box contents are exactly the same though. You get an identical hardshell case, a charging cable, and the same 80-watt charging block. Because just like with the 11 Pro, the 11S Pro has the exact same 80-watt wide and wireless charging speeds and the exact same sized 7,500 mAh battery. Those specs are already so good though, so I do kinda understand why they haven't changed anything here. The design has of course been slightly adjusted though, and I really do like it. You can still see the physical liquid cooling on the back of it, just like we could with the 11 Pro, but the circle is more streamlined. There's a dash in the center, the line below the circle is now thinner, and the REDMAGIC logo has moved to below this line, and the logo itself is now transparent, acting as a window to show liquid running beneath it, which is a very nice touch. Oh, and the new arrows around the center circle also show the liquid flow. Text around the backplate is less pronounced and honestly better positioned. The logo in the top corner seems to get a bit brighter and has less geometry around it. There's still a stamp for the chipset, and the main portion of the backplate now has a smooth look instead of textured looking dots, which gives it a more elegant look. Other than the logo, the fan is still illuminated, the triggers are too, and so are the tiny dash lights on the other side of the frame. All of these lights can of course still be customized and set to be permanently enabled, even with the screen off. The button layout on the side frame, including sizing and vent sizes, are completely unchanged. The 520Hz triggers are the same, the fan still spins at the same 24,000 RPM, liquid cooling is exactly the same. Actually, the entire cooling system is untouched, including the size of the vapor chamber. There's thankfully still a headphone jack, the phone still has an IPX8 water certification, despite having fan vents. The camera system is completely the same, so be sure to check out my 11 Pro review after this to see some samples. Dimensions and weights are the same too, and so is the completely flat Gorilla Glass back with zero camera bump. The aluminum side rails are also still flat, and so is the screen, which is also protected by Gorilla Glass, but again there is no word on which version. There is still an always-on display which can be permanently enabled, there is still an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor which requires just a tap, and you guessed it, the display itself is exactly the same too. It has the same tiny bezels wrapping around and the same all-screen experience thanks to it using the same under-display selfie camera. It's still a stunning uninterrupted 6.85-inch AMOLED display with a 1.5K resolution, 1800 nits of peak brightness, 2592Hz PWM dimming, 3000Hz instant touch sampling, and a 144Hz refresh rate, which still doesn't use LTPO technology. If you compare this to the 10S Pro, then this is a proper upgrade with loads of changes, but I've been comparing it to the 11 Pro, and aside from the slight design refresh, everything is pretty much the exact same. This is the exact same phone as the 11 Pro. It would have been nice to have seen a couple things increase, like maybe a slight bump in battery capacity, a slight bump in screen brightness, and maybe include LTPO, especially with the price hike. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is an incredible phone, but what's actually new here? Well, software is up from REDMAGIC OS 11 to OS 11.5, which is still skinned over Android 16 of course, and to my eye, nothing has changed. There's still no large folders, which kinda sucks, but it's still very stock-like aside from the loads of customization options, including interactive widgets and REDMAGIC's own AI Plus built in, along with all of Google's goodies, since this is of course the global model of the phone. There's also still no eSIM support, which would have been a massive game changer for me, but there is still a 360-degree antenna, NFC and Android Auto support, which is obviously always good to see. So the only thing left that actually could be upgraded is the chipset. And it has. Kind of. As per the stamp on the back of the phone, this device is still using the flagship Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 CPU, but written under it is leading version. It's the same chip, but has overclocked prime cores, which now sit at 4.74 GHz, and an overclocked Adreno 840 GPU, which now sits at 1.3 GHz. In case you were wondering, those are the exact same specs as the 4 Galaxy Snapdragon chip seen in the S26 Ultra. This makes for a healthy bump in terms of Antutu score, an increase in Geekbench single-core score but a decrease in multi-core, and identical scores in 3D Mark despite the GPU being overclocked. There's also still the same LPDDR5T RAM and UFS 4.1 Pro storage, but there is no 1TB option in the global market this time around. There is still a magic key on the side which opens the same dedicated game space mode, and the key can still be customized to do something else instead. Game space looks identical and you still get all the same overwhelming features when in a game, including bypass charging, which can be set outside of playing games by the way, an info panel to show FPS which is always great, touch trigger customizations, image upscaling, frame interpolation, and so much more. Oh, and it still has the same Red Core R4 dedicated gaming chip to take some stress off the Qualcomm CPU. And it still has a USB-C 3.2 port which allows you to play games on an external monitor at 4K 144Hz. Check out my 11 Pro review after this to see it in action. I've set every game we're about to play to maxed out settings and enabled image upscaling and frame interpolation where available. Genshin Impact supports these features and the phone managed a rock solid 144 FPS while playing, which is actually a pretty big deal considering the 11 Pro could only interpolate up to 120 FPS, so that's definitely a nice upgrade. This is where the new REDMAGIC OS 11.5 comes into play. It didn't really change anything software related, but the whole system has been more optimized to do things just like this. Temperature while playing is similar to the 11 Pro by the way, which is expected since it uses the same cooling system, but it's a bit warmer of course because of the overclocked chip. Wuthering Waves is of course a lot more demanding to play, but it played it like an absolute champion, which isn't surprising. It supports native 90 FPS in-game, but with frame interpolation it averaged 120. Unfortunately, it doesn't generate frames up to 144 FPS like it did with Genshin Impact. Call of Duty Mobile doesn't need interpolation since the phone can play the game at a native 144 FPS, even when using the very high graphics preset and super resolution feature in the game's settings menu. Delta Force is one of the best console-like shooters you can play on a phone, but unfortunately the global version of the game limits FPS to 120. Thankfully, this time we can use the HD quality preset in game when playing at 120 FPS. Last time out, we could only enable 120 FPS mode when dropping the quality to standard. And then there's actual ported console games which push PC level graphics. First up on the list is Bright Memory Infinite, and even with all graphical settings maxed out, this phone averaged 120 FPS the whole time, which isn't surprising since the 11 Pro does the exact same. However, the frame rate seems to be a lot more stable this time around, probably due to those new software optimizations. Alien Isolation is another demanding console port, and the REDMAGIC 11S Pro had no problem averaging the game's 60 FPS limit. Red Dead Redemption only recently made its way to Android, and while its performance mode has a frame cap of 40 FPS, this phone ran it exceptionally well without ever feeling too warm in the hand. And then lastly we played Grid Legends, which is probably the most demanding racing game you can play on a phone. When I tested this game out on the 11 Pro, there were loads of bugs, micro stutters and audio issues. Thankfully that's not the case here with the new REDMAGIC 11S Pro. The game itself looks stunning and this device ran it very smoothly at a solid 60 FPS, which is now the max frame rate of this game, even when in performance mode. Haptic feedback felt fantastic in game too, thanks to it using the same great vibration motors as its predecessor. Audio is also incredible, and while its dual speakers have been upgraded when compared to the 10S Pro, they're the exact same as the speakers used in the 11 Pro.
What the hell happened here?
Changing mag. Recon ready for deployment.
Time for some hot action!
My final thoughts of the REDMAGIC 11S Pro would be exactly the same as my final thoughts of the REDMAGIC 11 Pro, because aside from the slight overclocked performance in terms of its chipset and the slight redesign, this is the exact same phone for an extra $100. I mean, if you're coming from a 10S Pro, then this is a huge upgrade, but unless you need the absolute best phone from the company and some extra gaming optimizations and you like the look of it, I reckon you'd be perfectly fine picking up the 11 Pro for cheaper. As always, this is TechNick and I'll catch you in the next one.